Well, hello. I am so excited to be here today with my friend Sarah. If we've never met, my name is also Sarah. Our moms all decided before we were born that this was the most popular name of our decade. So, anyway, this is my friend Sarah Miller, and she is another homeschool blogger. She blogs at Homeschooling for Him, but she is a reading expert, which homeschool moms all need a reading expert in their back pocket if they have small children. And I'm so excited to have her here with me today because we're going to tell you about this amazing reading challenge she is launching next week. And if you have a child that needs to read, that you want to read, or that is struggling to read, her challenge is going to be perfect for this. And it's free, even better. So, Sarah, why don't you tell us about your reading challenge?
Sure. Thank you so much for having me, Sarah. It's exciting to get to talk to you. So the challenge is the Reading Garden Challenge. And what we're going to do is we're going to teach our kids to read their very first book in 3 days. So this is very much a take action challenge. It's not a class that you go and watch and then, while you're folding laundry and then forget about it the next day. We're going to be going really practical and deep into exactly what your child needs to know. What are the most important things to teach them? How exactly to do that. And then I'm also going to be sharing all of the resources that you need. So you're going to get printable activities that you can print out and do with your child so that they will be ready to read that book by the end of the third day.
Wow, that's like so exciting. I remember when I taught my oldest son to read, which was a long, long time ago, how I sat him in a chair and I like forced him to go through some reading curriculum and he sat there and cried. And I was like, no, no, you have to learn to read. And it was a lot of pressure for both of us. Is this challenge going to be like that for my child who needs to learn to read like right now?
No, no, that's how it started for me as well. So I'm a teacher too, and I was a teacher before I homeschooled my kids. And so when it came time to teach my oldest, I was really excited about it. And I was really excited to be able to share all the books that I love with him and just to be able to bond over those books that we both were enjoying and reading. And then we started the process and I researched all the curriculums and I picked, what I thought was going to be the best. And he hated it and he cried like on a daily basis. He cried. And I was watching this love of books that he had that I had worked so hard to develop as we read together when he was little just disappear. And I knew that I needed something that was going to teach him how to read using like the science and the best practice that research has shown us is really effective for kids, but then also make it fun at the same time. Like, why can't we have both? And so that's where the reading curriculum that I created came from. And that's where this challenge comes from too, because I think it's really important that we not only teach our kids how to read, but also make it fun. And so that's going to be our goal over the 3 days.
Okay, now this is not a question I asked you beforehand, but what if a family is not a homeschooling family and they have a child that's struggling to read? Can they do this at home too? Like, they don't need to be a homeschooling family to try this out, right?
Yeah, no, definitely. Everybody is welcome. I do mention homeschool families a lot in the things that I talk about. And that's just because most of the families that come to me are homeschool families, but of course anyone is welcome. And unfortunately, it's becoming more and more common. I think that families of kids that are in traditional school settings are looking for reading support outside of school just because there are a lot of popular kind of trendy things that are happening in the schools right now that aren't aligning very well with the science of what we know about how kids actually learn to read. And so it's helping a few kids, but there are quite a few kids that are falling through the cracks and not getting what they need in that setting. And so parents are needing to go out and search for it on their own. And um yeah, but they're always welcome, of course.
Okay, perfect. Because I have friends who have kids in school and we've had this conversation. So I just want to make sure it's like it would work for everybody, which of course it would. But
Mhm.
so what ages do you recommend this for?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, and it's one of the ones that I get the most often is like, what age will my child be ready to read? And it's such a loaded question because kids actually learn how to read at a really wide variety of
Mhm.
ages. And as a homeschool parent, that's like one of the most frustrating things for me
Yeah.
whenever someone who's an expert says it. But unfortunately, it's true. We go to my kid's pediatrician and I'm like, there's this really concerning thing. Like, I'm worried. Is this normal? And he always goes, well, there's a wide range of normal.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's not helpful. Tell me if they're ready or not. So that's
Yeah.
going to be one of the first things that we're going to do in the challenge is we're going to look at a checklist of here
Okay.
are the skills that your child needs to have and the things that they need to be able to do in order to be ready. And so within those first few minutes, everybody's going to know either, yes, my child is ready, or no, they're not. And if they're not, what can we be doing now to help them develop those skills that they need?
Okay. That's super helpful. I mean, I
Mhm.
have 9 kids and they're all on, they made it. They're reading, except for my youngest who's 6.
Yay.
She's still doing Bob books. But
Mhm.
the funny thing is, it's so true. Like my oldest learned to read when he was 5. And then I thought, wow, I'm such a good mom. I taught him to read. I'm so good. And then a couple kids later, they were like 8 and they still weren't reading. And I was like, yeah, maybe I'm not such a good mom, and then it became like the mom blame and shame. Those kids
Mhm.
are not reading. They're doing great. So
Mhm.
they did great. And one was even 9. I had one that took even longer, but it all works out. So you're right. There is this range, but if your first child doesn't, do it when you think they should, it can be so stressful. So,
Yeah, and it's
um,
really interesting because it's not just it's like part genetic, part environmental. There's a lot of different factors that go into it,
yeah,
and it does vary depending on just the child and their personality and all the factors even within a family. So like you said, it's not uncommon at all for the different siblings in a family to all learn how to read at different ages and to all struggle at different points along the process. So as a homeschool parent, that's a challenge though, because just because you've taught one doesn't mean that you're going to have all of the answers to teach the next one.
that's so true.
Yeah.
Um, you said this is a 3-day challenge. So does it just like go over 3 days? You might have said this earlier, but I just want to repeat it again. It's 3-day challenge. Does it happen 3 days in a row?
No, so it's going to be three different live classes, live events
Okay.
over the course of about a week and a half. And the reasoning for that is to give lots of grace period in there so that if life happens and you aren't able to come to one of the live events, you'll have plenty of time to watch the replay and do the activities with your child and not feel like you're behind. So the first one is going to be on Tuesday, March the 5th at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. Then we're going to skip a day. Day number 2 is Thursday, March the 7th, also at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. And then we're going to take the whole weekend off. And then the last day is going to be Tuesday, March the 12th at 8:30 Eastern. And
Okay.
all of those classes are going to be live on Zoom. So you can come live and ask all the questions that you have. I will stay until every question is answered on all 3 of those. So I'm really excited just to get to connect with everybody and make sure that everybody really understands exactly what's going on and what we're doing. And then the classes will also be streamed into the Facebook group, so you can watch them there as well. And then if you don't have Facebook or can't come live or whatever, there will be a replay as well. So everybody that signs up for the challenge is going to get the replay by email.
Okay. Fantastic. So if I'm not, if I really don't like Facebook, this will still work for me if I can. You're just going to send it out by email afterwards. I don't
Yeah,
have to be in the Facebook group for this to work.
right, exactly. So all of the resources and the videos and the video replays and everything will also be coming by email. And if you're not on Facebook, then you can join the live video directly on Zoom. And so you'll be able to still access everything without a Facebook account.
Okay, perfect. So I mean, we're all busy. How many minutes a day do you think this is going to take? Maybe that's not the right question since I'm not sure exactly how it's structured. Like, how much time should I be setting aside for this if I'm planning ahead and whatnot?
Yeah, that's an awesome question. I think that a lot of times when parents go to teach a child to read, they're really intimidated. And so they think that it has to be this thing that's going to take hours and hours and hours every day. And there's no way that we have time for this. And then you've got the active child who isn't going to sit still for more than, 5 or 10 minutes anyway. And they're running all around. And you're like, how am I going to corral this child to get them to sit and read with me? And so what I always recommend is to keep the lessons really, really short. And I think that's one of the biggest keys to make reading fun for kids is to just keep it short, keep it within their attention span. Because I don't know if this happens at your house, but I know that at my house, when my kids start to get frustrated and discouraged, it's almost always when I'm like, we just have to do one more problem. And I can see that you're starting to lose it. And I know that you really can't focus anymore and you're tired, but you know what? I want to check this one off of my lesson plan that we did the whole lesson today and we did all the problems. So we're just going to barrel on ahead. Yeah.
Oh, no, you're the only one. For sure. And then they're like melting down, but like
Mhm.
somehow you manage to check it off and yeah, it's
Yeah. Exactly. So if we can just keep it short and be really focused during those few minutes that we spend, but just spend a few minutes and not push it beyond what our kids can handle and make sure that we're keeping it short and fun and focused. I think that that really goes a long way towards just helping kids have a good impression about reading and be excited to do it.
right.
Because I mean, if the lessons are short and we leave them wanting more, then the next day they're gonna be more likely to want to do it versus if the previous day you pushed it and then they had a meltdown and then they got frustrated. Over time, that can lead to discouragement and frustration with reading overall and, like, not wanting to even engage or start the lesson, and so I think that those short lessons are really key.
Yeah, I totally agree. I've met adults who don't enjoy reading to this day because when they were
Mhm.
taught to read, it was so stressful. And so they never learned to love reading because
Yeah,
it was like this big pain point. So,
right.
um,
Yeah.
so there's a challenge. We're going to be reading and we're going to learn to read. The child's going to learn to read their first book, right? Like
Mhm.
that. Okay. How do I need to do anything ahead of time? Like I like to be prepared. What do I need to do ahead of time?
Not really. It's designed to be just a come as you are kind of challenge. So there's not any specific like requirements or things that you need to do or have done in order to participate. So the only thing that you need to do is sign up for the challenge. There is a link that I'm sure that you'll share, and you just go there and you can click any of the buttons, scroll down to the bottom of the page, put in your name and your contact info, and that way I can send you all of the resources by email.
Okay, so there are going to be some resources. Yes, I will drop a link below. There's going to be some resources, but I don't need to do anything before it starts. It's all going to come when I need it, but I don't need to get all, I don't have to do a lot ahead of time. So that's good. Um, Now, this is just more of a like, I'm a type A type person. And um, so if I do this challenge with my child and they can't read because, I want to like check the box, and they can't read or they can't do it perfectly or whatever. Should I be worried?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, and again, I think it really depends. Um, and that's why there's the live component of this challenge, and that's why there's support, because I think that if you get to the point where your child is struggling, that's a really great opportunity to sort of observe them, and then as a parent, you have to figure out, okay, where is it that they're getting stuck, and how do we get them over that obstacle, that hurdle, and on to the next step. And so that's what we're going to be working through during the challenge. So not only are we teaching our kids the lessons, but then we also have the classes for us as parents to help us learn the skills that we need in order to be able to teach our kids. So, one of the things that we're going to be focusing on during one of the classes, I think it's the second one or the third one. I don't remember. Anyway, one of the classes, we're going to be talking about what to do when your child gets stuck. And I'm going to be sharing the strategy that I use for my kids when they get stuck with something, which I think is part like what I learned as a teacher and a little bit what I've figured out as a homeschool mom as well. And so we're going to be talking about like when your child gets stuck, how do you figure out what it is that they're
Mm,
stuck on?
it's so
And then
helpful.
how do you take that next step with them? How do you know what to do next? So we're going to be going through that. And we're also going to have the community in the Facebook group if you're there or by email. And, you can come to the classes as well and ask questions. So if it's not working, if your child is stuck, this is a chance to reach out and get some help to be able to figure out what to do to move them on to the next step.
Okay. Well, that's fun. I love that you're like helping parents kind of become their own reading expert kind of thing. Like that,
Mhm.
I don't think we ever learned that information anywhere unless we went to school to be a reading teacher, which I
Uh-huh.
didn't. So I love that you're teaching the parents and not, actually never seen that done. So I like that you're not just pushing some kind of curriculum, that you're teaching parents how to sort out, how to figure out their own kid, which is what I mean, homeschool parents have to do it all the time, but I really think parents in public school are navigating that too, where they're trying to find out if this is working for their kids or not. So after the challenge, um, what kind of support or curriculum, what do you have to help parents then take the next step with this child that's excited by their success? What do you offer to parents?
Yeah, so once the challenge is done, I do also have a learn to read curriculum that goes through an entire school year's worth of reading for your child. It starts out with the basic sounds and words, like what we're going to be working on in the challenge, and proceeds through to vowel teams and silent letters and all those multiple sounds the vowels make and the words that don't follow the rules and like a lot of the tricky things about learning to read are all within there. And the curriculum is structured kind of similar to the challenge. So, in the challenge, we're going to be using the story as a way to help our kids get motivated and excited to read. And the curriculum does that as well. So, the curriculum has 62 of the stories, like the ones that we're going to be doing in the
Okay.
challenge, so that kids can continue that excitement to be able to read those books.
Okay, nice. So if people do your challenge, then they're kind of getting like a little sample of how your curriculum works just in general.
Mhm.
All
Yeah.
right. Well, this is so exciting. And your reading curriculum can be used for a wide age range as well, like whatever age kids are ready to start reading. So it's not like, oh, if they're older than 5, it won't work for them. It would work for, okay, perfect.
Mhm. Yeah. To
Well,
my knowledge, I think we've had kids as young as 3 and as old as 9 go through it.
wow.
It's
Oh,
possible that it's wider, but that's just
that's what
what
you know.
parents have told me.
Okay, fantastic.
Yeah.
And I'm going to share a link to your curriculum too below. So if people want to, they're overachievers like me and they want to go look and poke around, they can do that too. Do you have any final words or encouragement or thoughts that you want to share with people?
I'm just really excited to get to support everybody at the challenge. I think it's gonna be a lot of fun, and, I'm excited for our kids too, because this is gonna be a big milestone step for them.
I think it's an awesome way to kind of, the school year is like in the final quarter kind of thing. We're going towards the end. And a lot of people, when they start their school year, they have this big hope that their kid's going to learn to read. And sometimes it gets discouraging if they've tried a few things, like, and now we're turning the corner and it's like, well, maybe it's not going to happen this school year. But this is a really great way to kind of turn that corner in a positive way and accomplish a goal that a lot of us have. I mean, my daughter just turned 6, and like a week before she turned 6, I was like, better pull out the Bob books, you know what I mean? Or whatever. I pull out whatever I got on my shelf. Like, I got to try this with her, because now she's 6. So, anyway, so I'm excited to sit down and do this with her because, yeah, it was like a week and a half ago I pulled those things out to try. And this is going to be awesome. So I will share all the links with everybody below and definitely encourage everyone to go check out this challenge. I have seen Sarah's curriculum. It is fantastic. It is so thorough. As you can tell, I have lots of curriculum up here, and I couldn't believe how thorough it was. I probably own like I don't know, 5 reading curriculums because I'm a little bit neurotic, and when you have a lot of kids, you keep buying to try for different kids. And I
Mm.
couldn't believe how thorough your curriculum was. I loved how you had like all the like sound things in there. So for somebody who knows nothing about teaching a child to read, I thought like just the written version was really thorough. I can't wait to see what you teach people in the challenge. So thank you
Aw,
so much for sharing this with us today.
aw, thank you. Thanks for having me.
All right. Well, we will see you next week in the challenge. Thank you.
Sounds good.
All right. I think that was it. Did I do it? I don't know.